I want to retire in Italy, I want to come in Italy, so I'm looking for a so-called retirement visa. Is this the best option? What can I do if I want to stay all the time in Italy? So I want to retire in Italy, spend the remaining part of my life in Italy for myself, my wife, and all my family members. What you can do? What are the best options for doing that? These are really common questions because you can write online a lot of things, but there is not just one way for you if you want to retire in Italy. So the retirement visa maybe it's the best option, but maybe it's not the only option you can have. This is Marco Bersani as always from the Bersani Firm&Partners from Italy, an Italian immigration law firm with expertise on Italian visa application. So do not lose any more time and let's start. Today we want to clarify a really important point because there are a lot of people that wants to come in Italy, especially for retirement. We have a lot of people, we see a lot of people, for example, they come in Italy, they stay here for vacation, so with the 90 days limitation, then they say, wow, we are in law in Italy, we want to come here for my retirement, I want to spend my life here, the life is good, the food is good. Italy is pretty unique on the worldwide scenario. So a lot of people are thinking about applying for a so-called retirement visa. But is this the best option in all cases, or you can maybe evaluate other options? Well, today I want to focus about the two best options if you want to retire in Italy, so the retirement path for coming here long-term and stay here for your retirement. The option number one is for sure the retirement visa, the so-called retirement visa, which is technically the real name is Elective Residency Visa for Italy. The Elective Residency Visa for Italy, so the retirement visa, is a visa that was designed by the Italian government many years ago, specifically for people that wants to retire here. For qualifying for the retirement visa, for the Elective Residency Visa, what you need is to show that you have your pension, your retirement income, or generally speaking, a passive income. A passive income, so any form of income which is different from a salary, from an employment, which is stable and continuous in time. So you need to cover at least the minimum, which is required by the law, around 32,000 a year for the single applicant. You need to show to the Italian consular officer that you have this minimum coming from stable and continuous passive income. Pension, of course, is the typical stable and continuous passive income, of course, because it's paid by you, it's paid to you from, Social Security Administration, for a private retirement fund or something like that, to you for your entire life. You don't need necessarily only a pension, you can have any other form, you can have dividends, you can live thanks to living off by dividends, so passive income, you can live by using rents, you can live because you have an insurance that is paying you for X amount every month for entire life. There are many forms of passive income that we can check every time. This is for sure the best way for the retirement, but there is a downside. This form, this visa, this application is designed for the retirement, so they think that you will stay here long term, so you will spend the time here. It doesn't mean that you have to stay here, all the year and you cannot leave the country. You are not in jail, you can leave the country, but it really depends on your needs, because there are many people that think, I'm retired, I want to enjoy my life. Yes, I want to stay in Italy maybe for 6 months, 7 months, but I want also to be able to, if I want to visit other countries, to do that, because I have the financial means to do that, so I have to stay in Italy and only in Italy. Well, in this situation, depending on your needs, there is another way, potentially speaking, and if you have the financial means, so you are considered a so-called high net worth individual, you can apply for sure for the golden visa, the investor visa. The investor visa can be used also for your retirement, but with some more benefits, because the main benefits, one of the many benefits that the investor visa carries, is that You have not to physically stay here all the time. You can just spend 1 week a year here. It's not a problem. So, it really depends on your needs. There are these two ways for retiring in Italy if you want to retire here. The most common one in 80% of cases is the retirement visa, so the elective residency visa, because many people, they are not high net worth individual, but if you are a high net worth individual, and if you want to, and your need is not just to stay here, but also be free to travel abroad and stay abroad if you want to stay abroad, without counting the days to be staying for staying abroad, you can do that. And for sure, this is the best option you can do. For sure, 100%. So every time when we have a prospect that contacts us and say, I want to retire, it's really important to us, yes, you want to retire, but what are your needs? What are your goals? What you want to do for the rest of your life? That's why it's really important to every time to set up consultation call. We need to understand the real needs of the client, and sometimes we also make some questions and the client says, well, I didn't think about it actually, so yes, maybe we can evaluate also this part. So it's really important every time, so do not start immediately with an idea, which may be the right one for you, for sure, but it really depends on your need. So that's why every time we need to talk with you, understand your needs. Of course, if you have questions, something you want to ask, as always, you can contact us through the contact form. It's free of charge, so you can contact the team. The team is always happy to reply to your question, your doubts. Of course, as I said, if you for sure you need a consultation call. If you have some specific question, legal question, something we need to analyze a little better. You can also leave a comment here below, of course, on YouTube, not a problem. Of course, we can just reply to, general question, for me a request of information. We cannot do consultation here on social media. As you may understand, it's not professional, and it's impossible also for us to clearly understand your needs.